In this gold conversation, we circle back with Alec Holmes to further explore his progression from the corporate world to entrepreneurship. It's been like 5 months, 6 months since we caught up with you last. So,
Yep.
just for those that haven't caught the last two episodes, just briefly, like tell us about your trajectory leaving the matrix, as you
Okay.
say, as far as
Well, yeah, I appreciate you being here because I'm not very good at updating my own social media and things like that. So I don't really keep people updated. I'm a super introvert, so I can isolate really well. So I appreciate you helping you. And you've been kind of helping me document my entrepreneurial journey, we can call it, since I left my corporate position and jumped into like a more entrepreneurial type role with my life. So you've been helping document that. I think so. It's been about a year. I think we first talked before I left the corporate job. So I think it was like right before I was about to jump off the cliff. You caught that moment, which is awesome. And then we followed up about 8 months later, about how that journey's going. I think we discussed like the specifics of what I'm doing and what I'm pursuing at that point. And now we're at about a year and 2 months since that started. So yeah, just so I guess the gist of the story is I left my corporate job. You're helping me capture this part of my life. And then jumped into like an entrepreneurial type life. It's something I had always dreamed of doing because I was pursuing freedom. And I wasn't quite comfortable with working full time and not using my full capacities and kind of living my own life. And I started that journey about a year and 2 months ago. So now we're here. Um, yeah.
And it's pretty amazing, Alec, that you're here because a lot of people they don't even make it to exit out of the circumstance that's not working for them. Either they just change positions and it's the same thing all over again, or they don't have the courage. And I just want you to talk for a few minutes about what it is like to jump out of that box as an introvert.
As an introvert, I think everyone has their own personality type and they have their own strengths that come along with it. So it's not bound to any specific type that is going to be successful or not. I was able to leverage my introversion because I can dig in and focus on my projects and not get distracted by other things. I think I've become through this phase a bit more introverted and very strategic in who I actually reach out to and share my energy with, because as I was a baby, so I was like kind of germinating out of the soil, like not as strong. I was really careful with who I spent time with because I had to kind of be a bit delusional to be able to make it um, with this path. So yeah, I think introversion played as a strength for me, and most of my projects I don't really have to talk to people other than through email, so I was able to kind of focus on that and not get distracted. So I think it's been a strength, just kind of one aspect of it.
And I love how you're focusing on targeting. And also, it sounds like you're trusting your intuition, that piece of you that sort of is that guide, if we allow it to be so. So,
Mhm.
yeah, how are you moving through the clutter, so to speak, to define, okay, who's going to be a possible fit here and who should I reach out to? How does that process happen for you?
Well, like I like to have friends, of course, so I actually have to make kind of an intentional effort to reach out to people. Um, so like today, I had the idea to reach out to my friend who lives in Guatemala. He was my best man at my wedding, but I hadn't really talked to him much. So like it's been years have passed since I talked to him, so I wanted to make it intentional to like schedule a time to talk with him. So now I'm hoping that that kind of becomes a regular thing. So that would be an example of one, just a really good, wise friend that's offered really good life advice, and he's kind of been there throughout my life journey. So that's one example. As far as like business aspects, like with Arts of Thought, I try to spend time with the current person I'm engaging with. So I give them my full attention. I'm not like too scattered out over everyone else. So just kind of intentional. What aligns, I guess. That's yeah, the kind of the targeted idea.
That kind of ability, which I see as an asset, doesn't often fit in the traditional corporate world. It's sort of like you're just pushed out there dog eat dog and make the quota and hit the numbers. And have you noticed that aspect of you, that quality in you growing? over this last year and change?
Um, yeah, I think making it just more intentional, like I said, to reach out. But yeah, in the corporate world, it can be kind of chaotic and you're talking to a whole bunch of different people at once. But it is nice because you're all kind of focused on the same goals and projects on a good team. Um, so yeah, so maybe replacing that with my own approach has been interesting, the contrast between the two. Um, did I answer your question there?
Yeah, it totally answers my question. I mean, you left the corporate world because you were dissatisfied. I think I remember in the episode in our discussion, you were saying they realized you weren't going to fit their mold. You weren't going to fit in the box. And so you sort of knew that it was time to depart on your own terms, which you did.
Mhm.
But I was really curious about you being an introvert and now how you're selecting your outreach because it's something that we don't really have a chance to nurture in general when you're in that corporate setting. And I think it's one of the things that people can find unfulfilling. So I'm really thrilled that you're finding it. So, what else is happening now? 12 months, 14 months into it. What are you seeing?
Uh, yeah, so I just wanted to touch on the corporate world again, just real quick. I think there's good teams. It's not that I didn't really fit into the box. I think it's just because I had goals of my own, um, and ways that I wanted to feel, and that world just wasn't providing it. I know like some people thrive in that world. I think my sister might be one of them. She can counter that if she doesn't agree. But like, there's certain people that fit. It's just me as an introverted, intuitive type. I think differently and I like to think in my own ways, and that's how I find success. So sometimes the ways I approach projects or try to get results, which I get results, might be different than what the leader might want me to be doing. So that's kind of where it didn't quite fit. I just like to use my full capacity to be a creative thinker and play with life. I think life is really interesting. And if you're stuck in that get grind, you don't really get a chance to have any freedom, and really get to know yourself and like how reality works and things like that. Um,
So, one of the things that you really need to be creative about or have more freedom with when you're off on your own versus when you're being sent a paycheck
mhm.
is how you're going to bring in the the month's expenses. So remind us how you're doing that right now and
Mhm.
how that's going for you.
Okay, yeah. So our approach, we basically had three side hustles, is what they called it, like as we were working, my wife and I. So the primary one has been reselling online, doing e-commerce. So basically just finding old items, developing an eye for what's valuable. So if you go into like thrift stores or Goodwill or garage sales, you can identify what's valuable, you can get it and then resell it. So that's been our primary income. Uh, well, it fluctuates. It's a strong one, a strong income. And people will be very surprised at what things are worth. So reselling, that's been number one. Two has been my passion, my obsession for the past 3 years, which is trading small cap listed stocks. So that's been a 3 year obsession, and I've been doing it every day. Wake up every morning at what is it, 4:40 a.m. here, and then the market opens at 6:30 a.m. here in California. So every day dedicated. That's kind of a passion. And then three is my websites. So I have a collection of websites that I run and manage. Number one is Arts of Thought, which you're a part of, which has a bunch of amazing people. It's an amazing network. It's not a big income producing project, but the network is what's really cool there, and I need to figure out how to honor it more. So that's kind of my next phase I'm looking at. And then three is my website, Webworks, which I do written campaigns through an affiliate. So they basically pay for me to write articles, and then it gets search engine traffic and conversions, and then that kind of pays on the side. So through all those things, there's little streams. Nothing's huge, but they kind of take care of each other and fluctuate, which I've noticed with this little lifeboat we've crafted.
Do you feel like do you feel like the money that you need on a monthly basis has it fluctuated a lot since you've grown accustomed to the rhythm and the pacing of what it's like to be an entrepreneur and how your funnels bring money into you? Um,
Mhm.
have you been surprised in any way about how money flows? Yeah.
Mm. That's a good question because yeah, definitely. So like my past, I went to kindergarten. We're on the five day a week schedule. The bell rings, you're told what to do, and I did that through college. Took me 6 years to get through college, um, and then into the corporate world. So really used to that repetitive schedule, and you get a paycheck, and that's how it goes, and it doesn't really fluctuate. But jumping into the entrepreneurial type lifestyle, it fluctuates. Like there's ebbs and flows. There's downtimes, which we just got through a huge downtime with the Iran thing and consumer sentiment was down. But things ebb and flow. It's not just a consistent paycheck. Like you might make $3,000 in one day and then nothing for 2, 3 days, 4 days, a week, a month, and you don't know when the next thing is coming. So I think with that, it's helped me develop my own spirituality, my connection with God, because you have to develop a sort of faith and trust in the process. And to me, it kind of simplifies down to if whatever you're doing, there's so many ways to make money. If you're putting the seeds out there, you're creating the potential for it to come back. So it doesn't matter really what you're doing. You just have to put the potential out there and like have faith that they will produce what you need. And it usually does. And as your needs increase, they tend to increase. That's something I've kind of noticed. Yeah.
I remember you telling us that you got down to your last $19 and you hadn't
Mhm.
had $19 in your account since like high school or something. And I've been in that situation too. Um, is that starting to even out as the time is starting to go along, or are you still being taken back to those places? How's that shifting?
It's a lot better than it was. So yeah, the 19 at that point was pretty scary, but now I think it's increased. Like, oh no, I can only cover like a month or 2 months now. But the fear and the anxiety doesn't go away sometimes. It just kind of takes a different form as you grow. So I've been able to manage that better, I think, and just have more faith and trust in the systems. Or even if I need a job, like I've considered it, like I can jump back into a part-time role or something like that. So just like having a safety net helps. Um, and ultimately just having faith in the process and however you interpret reality and how money is going to come in.
There's a lot of faith that goes on when you're working with yourself. I remember I jumped in and got a part-time job because I had just bought a house for our family and property taxes were coming up and a deal that I thought was going to come through
Hmm.
fell on its face. And instead of just trusting the process and allowing the abundance to come in, I took some fundraising job and worked my butt off at nights for like 6 to 8 weeks. And then that deal resurrected and came in, and I made like three times what I made going every night downtown LA to, ask people for money over the phone at the time, which
Hmm.
was horrific. So timing is essential. And it is a rhythm and a pace that is nothing like when you're getting a corporate paycheck. And I know you've learned to adapt. You have stress reducers, but
Hmm.
as the time has gone on, where do you find the trigger points, and how are you able to work with those fears when they come up?
Mm. So I think over the ebbs and flows of the process so far, you get taken to low points, or I got taken to low points, and each time you go to a low point, you get kind of carved out. I don't know how like uh pure not purified but like refined is the word. So you go through these low points and you get more refined, and I think I've been through the flows enough now to where the low points I can kind of sit with them, be present and learn what I need to learn, and also increase my faith or whatever. Like if money's looking tight, I just trust in the process and it usually comes through, and that's how it's been there. Trigger points, I think I check stats all the time, so I can get a little paranoid, like if our stats are going down. Um, but as I think it's gotten a lot better, I don't really freak out anymore. It's kind of part of the initiation.
Yeah, it's like building that entrepreneurial muscle. I used to
Hmm.
be waking up in the middle of the night and freaking out. And then it also was really interesting because I took myself down to those low double digits in my checking account quite a few times in my
Hmm.
in my career. And
Yeah.
it was almost like the point leading up to that was more excruciating than actually being at that point. And then I got to understand, oh, something else is going to come in from left field, even though it's not,
Yeah.
nothing that I'm doing straightforward is working. And then it'd be like 3 days later, and I'd get a call to consult on some job for 6 figures. And then I would
hmm
just get used to that path again. So you're sounding like you're already building that muscle. What regrets do you have about leaving the corporate system, if any?
I don't have too many regrets because it's always been a goal to at least attempt this. Like I worked in a hospital for through college as a phlebotomist, and I would always go to the old people on the top floor that are basically on their deathbed or literally on their deathbed. And I'd talk to them and ask them hard questions, and I got a lot of crazy answers. But ultimately, I kind of boiled that down to like if you have an idea, or if you have a dream, you might as well try it because when you're at that point that that old person's at on their deathbed, you're going to be looking back and you don't want to say that you didn't at least attempt what you wanted to try to attempt. So that's been a big motivator um, going from the corporate world. But I wouldn't say like I'm never going to go back to it. Like I don't know. I'm open to whatever. I don't know. This could whatever change. But I have confidence now that it'll continue on and continue to grow. Um, but yeah, sorry, I got a little distracted. What?
No, that was right on the button and so apropos. Because it is an initiation. You keep referring to it as like it's almost an initiation. It is an initiation. And you're right. You have nothing to lose and you're doing it at a great time. Like some of us wait until, we're closer to our retirement age than not to try it out. But there is no harm in trying it. And sometimes the universe has us try it on,
Mhm.
regardless of how we feel, being, kicked out of I got fired, I think, 3 times in my career. One time I got fired because I was too powerful. I was like, "Ugh," this was in the TV business. It's like crazy.
Mhm.
And each time I would get fired, I always came up standing on 2 feet and doing much better. But it was scary to trust that process. So it's really lovely when we come together and we can catch up with you and see how you're
Mhm.
doing and understand that you're learning more. What would you say today in the seat you're in now to those that are still on the fence, still in that corporate gig, slowly soul
Mhm.
crushed?
Yeah, I mean, again, the corporate world, I think, is for some people. So if they enjoy it and it works for them and they don't have a desire to take that risk, it's totally fine to stay there. And there's very successful people within the corporate world who can climb the ladders and become leaders and directors and whatnot. So for some people, I think that's a good path. But for those who have sort of a desire for freedom or to jump off of it, try something different. It's possible. I would start out by building the side project, the side hustle on while you're working, and at least get it to a point where, you're kind of confident in the income before you jump off. Uh, yeah, it's possible. I mean, there's like millennials. I guess I'm older now in regards to technology, but there's so many different ways online to make money and find more freedom. So look online, look for what you're interested in. Some people love to make videos, like what you're doing. I don't have a gift for videos at all. Actually don't really like doing videos much, but like you have a gift for that, so other people can do that. Just whatever it is, find something online and put some effort into it, and you'll be surprised at what it can do because you're reaching a global audience and not just a community. There's so many people out in the world online now. So just do what you want. Like I like to write, so I did writing. I created websites and did just article writing, and that turned into something. Stock trading, that's not for everybody, but if you're crazy, I guess, that's something to look into. But it's a craft that can be mastered. It just takes time and it takes a lot of hits and punishment, losing money, but you'll get it. It's something you can learn, which is cool. But yeah, just find ways that you can bring in income, do what you want to do, have fun with your life, and take risks. Like I like that you touched on that process idea because it seems like every time I've taken a jump, um, it turns out better than it would have been if I stayed in fear. So you know, like I take bigger jumps and bigger jumps, but it's like, oh, is this time, like, is this when I'm gonna fail? But usually it's not, and it never has been. Um, so yeah, don't be afraid to take the jump if you want to, and just work on the side, and you know, you be creative with your life. Don't waste it.
Now, how does your connection with source, spirituality, nature, meditation, how does that play into what you're doing now, and how has that grown or flourished since you made the decision to go off on your own?
It's changed. It's I think matured a bit. So because when you take this path, you have to have some sort of spirituality. I don't know how anybody couldn't, because you have to have faith and trust in the unknown, and people perceive the unknown as different. But ultimately, you're trusting in the unknown. You're trusting in the force that controls the unknown. If you think it's just random, I don't know if they would be successful. But as for myself, I think my faith has increased, my connection with God has increased. It's been tested and refined because it's, you know, it's scary to jump off and try something, but in that process, as you jump off the cliff, I think you find something there that catches you and you're like, okay, what is this? And then you can explore that. So yeah, for me, I think it's just matured a bit. And like, not to be like prideful, but when people act spiritual, but you know they hadn't been tested, it's like you can kind of tell that they hadn't. You have to put your knowledge and your faith to the test, I think, to see what it is and see if it actually works. Um, yeah, something like that.
And how are you still staying connected with the outside world? Because the isolation as an entrepreneur can really creep in. So, what are some of the things that you do to stay connected or to grow your connections in that arena?
Just reaching out to friends, family as much as I can. But yeah, that's actually something I do struggle with because I'm the INTJ type. I don't know if maybe someone knows about that, the Myers-Briggs personality test. If you haven't taken it, I highly recommend it. But as an introverted intuitive type, I can like be in solitary confinement and be fine for years probably. That's like kind of a strength, but also kind of a weakness. So I have to be really intentional about reaching out and having connections and like updating my story, my social media, things like that. But
Are
yeah, I can
you
work on it.
Are you going to stay with the streams that you have set up currently? The resale, the stock trading, there's something, oh, the websites. Are you going to stay with those three elements, or are you looking to expand in other arenas?
I think things naturally expand, so it probably have the same um, gist, like the same approaches. I really don't want to give up on trading at all. So I know that'll stay. That's a really personal thing. It doesn't require anyone else. It's just you in the markets. That'll stay just because it's a passion and it's really interesting to me. Um, Arts of Thought, it should stay, but I need to spend more time with it. But yeah, I think in general everything should relatively stay the same, but they kind of evolve naturally. I don't know what they're going to grow into.
Well, I hope we get to do another catch up in another 6 months or a year or so. And is there
Mhm.
anything else that you wanted to share specific to your entrepreneurial journey before we say goodbye?
No, just quick shout outs, I think, to Swami and Nikki, the people that recently contributed to Arts of Thought. They did an interesting article on the idea of sanctuary. Nikki and Swami, cool couple. I read their article. And then Dr. Sasha, she has been contributing to Hearts of Thought quite a bit. She's been really interested in the project, so I appreciate her motivation to keep me going with it. It's those that I engage with in the project that keep me motivated, and I can kind of lose my focus. So I really appreciate those two, or those three actually.
Well, super cool. It's great to catch up. Thanks, Alec.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, thank you.